Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Safe Space Podcast. Today's episode is about conversations on suicide prevention, considering that September month is a suicide prevention month. So, I'm Viji Hari, the author of Break the Taboo. Today, we are going to deep dive into the topic that affects so many but is often shrouded in silence: suicide prevention. Before we begin, I'd like to share two of my personal stories that had an impact on me till now. This is something that happened long ago, but it still haunts me. One was with a distant cousin. After his 10th board exam, he came home and he jumped into the well just because his pen had stopped writing midway. It was such an impulsive decision which shook his entire family. The
Mm.
other was at a workplace in USA. While I was working there, a senior manager whom I admired for his work efficiency and skills, he ensured that he packed his family, he sold all his belongings in US, he came down to India, ensured his family was settled, and then committed suicide. We were shocked that he was silently struggling and never expected him to plan such a thing and plan it out and execute his own death. So, and at work, some of the top reasons that we have seen as part of our mental wellness program, people commit suicide because of work stress, financial struggles, and thirdly is the relationship issues. And these examples really highlight how different people across different age groups and circumstances experience distress and view suicide as the only option. And in India, the statistics again are alarming. Every 3 minutes, there's someone who is committing suicide. It's one of the second leading cause of deaths among 15 to 30-year-old people. These aren't just numbers, they're lives of real people that we're talking about. By starting conversations like the one we are having today, we can make a difference. And I'm very happy to welcome Veena Jain, a psychologist with years of experience in suicide prevention. Veena, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks,
Welcome.
Viji, for having me.
So, Veena, pleasure to have you. So, please tell us about your journey as a psychologist in handling suicidal thoughts and preventing it.
So my journey is, again, as you said, there was an experience that you had with respect to suicide. I think I also had a similar experience, and that led me to, migrate from a flourishing career of HR in IT to becoming a psychologist, right? And having working with people for so many years, what I have understood is initially we used to feel that, A may cause suicide, B may cause suicide, but the way the world is changing, a small emotional trigger, a small rage, right, can also lead to people committing suicide, losing their lives. People are, you know, just become very vulnerable, right? And it is sad to see them doing it. As a psychologist, many a times I feel helpless because I have not been able to reach them or they could not reach me. But then it's all that just we, live with. So it's tough. It's a tough journey.
I know it definitely is tough, especially hearing all the suicidal thoughts. And I'm glad you're doing your job of helping people change their mind, change their decisions. And it is a
Right.
tough one. Kudos to you for that.
It is.
So let's get started with our questions.
Hmm.
So, after hearing so many real life stories, can you
Hmm.
help us understand what drives someone to the point of considering suicide? And is it something that's an impulsive decision or is it something that's planned out?
It's both. It is impulsive and planned. Okay. Right. Now let me go age wise. Okay. If you look at the adolescents, right, generally the suicide happens because of extreme academic stress, right? That is something which we have heard about. But right now, the suicides are also increasing because of peer pressure, right? Failed relationship is also adding to the suicide. So, what I said is the vulnerability, the emotional maturity or the strength of the people have gone down. People are no more resilient as what we used to be, right? If we look at the geriatric group, right, then the suicide happens because of depression, long, prolonged diseases, or maybe some disability, and most importantly, disconnectedness, which leads to loneliness in them. They feel very disconnected from the society, from their loved ones, and the whole, the mindset to enjoy their life is gone. They have nobody to share things with. Apart from that, there are general reasons. And why I call that as general reasons, because when we classify suicides on the categories, financial stress, people with mental disorders are very vulnerable to suicide, right? Somebody may have a significant loss. It could be a relationship, it could be finance, it could be, losing somebody to death, right? It could also be a mere feeling of helplessness, right? In any situation, you are just feeling so helpless that you do not know how to navigate it, right? And then you take that action. And as I said, prolonged illness, whether it is in any category, also leads people to, taking extreme steps. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think when people are hit with no other solution, that's when they go and isolation, depression. I think these are some of the reasons.
Hmm.
So as society, that leads to me to the next question. As society,
Hmm.
even in my book, Break the Taboo, I have a chapter on suicide and the stigma around it. So
Hmm.
what can we do as a society to create environment where people can feel comfortable reaching out for help?
Hmm. Okay. The first thing is, I think the people should come out of the syndrome of all is well, right? Extreme optimism also impacts your your the way you're looking at the situation, the way you're assessing the scenario, right? So I think at times it is also good to come back, take a step back and say that is everything fine. Okay, so I call it as all is well syndrome, right? Do not go by that mindset. Okay, the second one is, I think the society needs to become very empathetic. The society is largely judgmental. We are more interested into what is happening with the other person, right? Why it is happening. They are not ready to resolve it, they are not ready to solve, support, right? But they are very much interested about creating, nuisance around it, right? So it's very important for society to become very empathetic. They have a problem, they have a problem, that's it. Okay, the other thing is acceptance, that yes, there is somebody who has a problem, and because of this problem the person's behavior is like that, right? And then last not the least, I think we need to create a safe space for everybody to thrive in. We have made a very insecure place for people to live in. We are judging them left, right, in and out, right? Whether it matters to us or not, judgment comes to us like this.
Hmm.
So I think if society takes care of these three, four things, definitely people will feel comfortable in their skin, people will feel comfortable with their emotion, and people will also feel comfortable the way they have to express it. Whatever could be their mode of expression, they will feel comfortable about it,
Lovely. I
right?
think
Somebody came today and told me, Ki, Veena, I feel like screaming and, crying loudly, but I cannot do it. It will impact my children. What will people think about me? Why am I crying? So, can we allow somebody who wants to scream and cry to scream and cry? It's okay.
yeah. I think that reminded me. I think that judgment, the society is not empathetic, which judges people, which stereotypes people. I think that's one of the leading causes of suicide among farmers. especially male farmers who are committing suicide just because of the thought that they are not able to provide for their family.
Yeah.
They are not capable of feeding their family. So,
Hmm.
so what if they are if a male is not able to feed the family? I think the society's thought process has to change. Even when he's gone, anyway, the wife or the mother is going to take care of the children. Anyway, she's going to survive
Hmm.
and she's going to take care, right? I think the thought has to change, and beautifully said, society has to change, and break the stigma of judging people and become more
Hmm.
empathetic. Lovely.
Hmm.
Let's look at some of the warning signs. What do you think from your experiences you've seen the warning signs in someone? Probably they are suicidal. So let me just share an example. Like I also handle a lot of sexual harassment cases, right?
Hmm.
So we've heard it in some of the cases like, hey, probably this person maybe is vulnerable, and we get those things and we're scared, right? What is the
Hmm.
other side we've seen? We know, but there's a trigger there, we know. But when there's no
Hmm.
trigger, we're not aware of the trigger. How
Hmm.
do we see signs?
Hmm. See, I think the first thing is we all understand people around us, right? So I think very important is if we identify their behavior becoming abnormal. They are no more normally doing their things. You know, who they were, they are not the same person. So a change in behavior could be one sign. Okay. The coping mechanism, if it has become very toxic, right, then that is another sign. Okay. I have seen cases where people have made their wills, right? Now people take it in two different ways. Oh, he's aged, so he is making will. But why somebody who is just 35, 40, 45 has to make a will with no chronic disease, right? Okay. Then people talking about, that I thought of hanging myself today. Okay, casually talking about it, right? They are running away from these scenarios. They are not facing it. Their appetite is gone. They are not able to sleep well. Okay. Now, here I want to make a disclaimer: not eating enough or change in appetite and sleeplessness is also related to a lot of other mental health disorders. So it cannot be just tagged up with, oh, he's suicidal. But these are one of these, above one of the warning signs. Okay. Your thoughts becomes, your mind is always ideating suicide. You start talking about suicide, how somebody, committed suicide, what weapons they used, what kind of mechanics were used in committing suicide, right? Whether they survived or not, what happened to them, right? So changes in personality and attitudes could be the warning sign. Apart from that, you see that their physical energy levels have changed. They are more exhausted, very lethargic, no energy, feeling hopelessness. They say that I'm not worthy enough, right? So when they're talking to you, they are sharing lot of rejections, resentments, lot of anger is there, right? And anger, not just anger, probably I would want to use the word as rage, right? So these could be the other warning signs. There are people who have committed suicide who had very severe guilt, and also people have committed suicide who were into gratitude trap. They don't know how to save themselves from the gratitude that they have for somebody. So they feel that they are being taken granted for, or they are taken advantage of. So what I'm trying to say is there is no one reason around it. There could be many reasons like this, but yes, these are the reasons which are generally, which comes across in the counseling sessions,
Hmm.
right? So I would
Yeah.
say it may not limit to only these. It can be many more.
Yeah.
We need to find out. We need to keep documenting these things.
Yeah. So I think whatever be the driver or whatever be the symptoms, I think watch out to people, talk to people. I think have conversations continuously, positive conversations, and something that's encouraging people. I think that is something that's very important. Not let people.
I think, more than that, it's important to accept that this is your state of mind. We have a tendency to rub off their feelings. right? I think we should not do that. If somebody is feeling worthless, okay, so you're feeling worthless. Now what is causing this feeling? Try to explore, try to introspect.
Hmm.
Start creating awareness to the person. That is important.
Okay. Yes, thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Veena.
Hmm.
So, some of the common myths and facts that are there
Hmm.
concerning suicide, and this is something that a lot of people consider it as a misconception, or a lot of people go through these. So let's set the record straight
Hmm.
on this. Uh, the first myth: talking about suicide will give someone the idea to do it. Is it true?
To some extent, yes, but largely no. I think suicide is something we should talk very openly and frankly. Why somebody committed suicide? I think many a times we as parents or as academicians, we try to refrain from these discussions. But I believe if we are talking them in the right context, giving them the complete, the holistic idea about why somebody did what they did, okay, will psycho educate people. So
Okay.
these topics should be spoken openly and frankly.
Okay. Myth two:
Hmm.
people who talk about suicide aren't really serious. They are just seeking
Mhm.
attention.
What if they are crying for help, right? So we have tendency that, we try to categorize people's need into different buckets based on our understanding. So what I'm saying is, can we just become little more empathetic and say that, okay, why is that person talking about it? Is the person disturbed? What if it is a cry for help? And all people who commit suicide definitely does a cry for help. Maybe not directly, but then yeah, different indirect measures are there.
Hmm. But three, once someone has decided to die, then there's nothing that anyone can do to save them.
No, I disagree with this. I have saved a lot of people who have felt suicidal. I think all that they are looking at is somebody who could talk to them, somebody who could understand, somebody who could accept them into that state of affair. Okay. They are looking for validation. Okay. There was one person, a teenager, right? All she asked me is that, Veena, can I hug you? And she kept me in that position for 10 minutes doing nothing. And I gave her that space. She said, today I felt belonged, right? And then she went. And after, I think, 6, 7 months, or maybe 9 months, she came back and said, that day, if you wouldn't have hugged me, you would have got the news of my death. And I was like, oh,
Hmm.
right? So these are
Very,
topics which, silences you.
very, very sad actually. So very
Yeah.
shocking. Sad. I think important how small things, subtle things, as this patient ear that we lend to people is something that's so important.
Yeah.
So moving on, myth four: suicide happens without warning.
The answer can be again yes and no. Okay. Largely, there is a warning sign. However, if the suicide is an impulsive decision, right, out of anger, then it could also be without a warning sign. Okay. Like, for example, there have been cases where husband and wife had a fight, and the wife wanted to, threaten him. So she poured a petrol on her, okay, and she tried to lit it, okay, and accidentally she lit that. She came to hospital with almost 85-90% burn. Okay. I have seen couples fighting and then the spouse, trying to jump down the floor, okay, or hang themselves. So if it is an impulsive decision out of rage, very unpredictable scenario, right? Then it can also be, without a warning sign. You will be just into a state of shock. Oh, this person, right? But largely it is with warning signs.
Hmm. Okay. So, people who survive suicide attempts are less likely to try again.
Again, a very, uncertainty is associated with it. If the environment around them has not become supportive, okay, um, they may still continue to attempt, okay. But if the society, the peer group, okay, has become supportive, have started understanding the person, then they may not commit suicide. They may, take it as one bad experience.
Hmm.
See, nobody wants to kill themselves. It is the last thing that somebody wants to do. Okay, so we need to understand that we are pushing them to that, space of hopelessness, that nothing is left now. It's better for me to die.
Hmm. People diagnosed with depression often think of suicide.
Yeah, they think of suicide because, depression is an outcome of sadness. So when you are sad, your environment looks gloomy. There is nothing to motivate you. Correct? There is no happiness. You're not able to enjoy the present, right? So then they feel there is no fun living.
Okay, the last myth, statement said in anger, go to hell
Hmm.
living. Can these instigate someone to commit suicide?
It may, okay. Like, for example, I'm done with you, right? Um, see, when we have fight, in anger, we say words which tear you apart, right? And it all depends upon how the other person is internalizing the emotions in that moment. So if the person is emotionally vulnerable, right, and then there are, a lot of history to the sadness and all of thing, right, the person may do that.
Hmm. Yeah. So I think as colleagues or as parents, when we are talking to our children or our
We have to be
friends,
very careful.
yeah,
I
let's.
There was a case here in Bangalore. One of the, student committed suicide, and the father said that I was so angry with his performance in pre-board that I said you should die, and he committed suicide.
Hmm.
Right. So what I'm saying is, in that moment, how you are internalizing the statement, what is your emotional state of mind, okay, can sink you and
Yes.
lead you with no awareness.
Hmm. Right. Thank you. Thank you for debunking these myths that can save lives. And definitely, I think one thing definitely is people should not just let the misinformation stop them from seeking further professional help. So,
Hmm.
moving on to our next question. Many people feel unsure about what to say when someone expresses suicidal thoughts. What is the best way to support someone in that particular moment?
Hmm. See, I would say that, see, again, everybody is not psychologist, everybody is not counselor, right? So, however you are reacting, okay, maintain that reaction to it, because this is something which will, you will feel that suddenly there is no ground under your feet, right? Correct. So, whatever be your reaction, okay, after that, try to calm yourself, okay, and validate the feeling of the other person that, oh, you are feeling suicidal, okay, what is leading to it, and how can I help you debunk this feeling or decode this feeling.
Hmm.
right? An assurance that I'm there for you, okay? Giving a space where the person could express themselves in the most vulnerable way. I think these are the best ways one could lead somebody to talk to. And if, let's say, the person is not talking, if you could hold the person, right, maybe their hand or hug the person, just give them that physical warmth and stay in silence. Allow the silence to do the talking.
Hmm.
I'm sure it will help.
Yeah, a simple assurance that I'm there for you,
I'm
whatever
there
may.
for you.
Yeah,
Yes.
brilliant. Okay, moving on to a quick rapid fire round.
Okay.
What is one book or resource everyone should read about suicide?
See, there are a lot of self help books which are easy and complicated, right? I would say Lewis Hayes' You Can Heal Your Life is the best book to start with.
You can heal your life. Lovely.
You Can Heal Your Life. That's the best way to start.
Wonderful. What's your one personal go to self care practice?
Hmm. Okay, so I do something called as progressive muscle relaxation technique. Once I'm done with my session, I just do this technique to de-stress myself and calm my body and mind.
So, what would that be?
Huh?
What kind of distressing?
It's a progressive muscle relaxation technique.
Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful. The muscle
It's
relaxation.
a very scientific process to de-stress your body. So I just take that. It is 15 to 20 minutes it takes one to completely, go through the process and relax your body.
Wonderful. One piece of advice for someone dealing with suicidal thoughts. What would that be?
I'm there for you.
First thing to say is to someone who's suicidal.
You could talk to me.
A quick mantra or affirmation you recommend to our listeners.
Believe in yourself.
Wonderful. I think we are right on time with our session. So I think thank you so much, Veena, for all the little bit of yarn and nuggets. I'm sure the listeners who are listening at some point of time of their life, I hope these things resonate and it's helpful down their lives. So mental health is definitely a part of everyone's priority, and definitely let's take small step and have open conversations on that. So, definitely, as a closing remark, reach out for helplines. There are a lot of suicide helplines in case of doubts. Reach out to us, eap.secureus.com, or reach out to our helpline 1 800 121 9497 for any help, or in case you want to reach out and talk to any of our counselors. So, you
Thanks for
never know.
having me, Viji.
Thank you, Veena. Thank you so much for your time and the little nuggets that you've shared.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.